Hello, good evening and welcome to Upfront. My name is Raymond Acquah. Tonight, it's perhaps the biggest headache in the Republic today. Over a 100-year conflict that's recently taken a turn that many are saying is a threat to national security. My guest is the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central. Bawku is where this conflict is, and of course, many of you may know by now, it started off as an engagement between the Kusasis and the Mampusis of the area. What can be done as an existing solution, perhaps final solution, to what has been a problem for over 100 years? That's the crux of our conversation. Honorable, welcome to Upfront.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you are doing well.
In the circumstances, I'm trying.
It's perhaps one of our biggest problems ever. For 100 Hello, good evening and welcome to Upfront. My name is Raymond Acquah. Tonight, it's perhaps the biggest headache in the Republic today. Over a 100-year conflict that's recently taken a turn that many are saying is a threat to national security. My guest is the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central. Bawku is where this conflict is, and of course, many of you may know by now, it started off as an engagement between the Kusasis and the Mampusis of the area. What can be done as an existing solution, perhaps final solution, to what has been a problem for over 100 years? That's the crux of our conversation. Honorable, welcome to Upfront.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you are doing well.
In the circumstances, I'm trying.
It's perhaps one of our biggest problems ever. For 100 good years. In fact, there are people who have even traced its roots beyond the chieftaincy, the allodial rights, and the other issues to colonial impact on the area. But how come 65 years into independence, we still are unable to resolve conflict in a limited area? Exactly what's so protracted about this that we cannot resolve it?
Well, I don't think that we have the luxury of time to trace the origins, the history, the various twists and turns that this issue has taken from pre-colonial times to colonial times to the immediate post-independence to the military regimes and to the third and now the fourth republics, and then of course the happenings during the PNDC era. Suffice it to say that as we speak, by virtue of the position of the Supreme Court, this matter has been resolved, and the Kusasi chief is the legitimate chief of the Kusak traditional area, which spans about 6 districts. And this position that the Supreme Court has affirmed is what is being implemented by both the Regional House of Chiefs for the Upper East region and the National House of Chiefs. And so there's really no issue of chieftaincy here. The issue is one side that lost out coming to terms with the legal position. That's the issue. Okay. One side that lost out in this whole tangle, being able to accept that, we've lost out and this is the position, and so we have to live with it. And the problem as it is today is no longer really technically a chieftaincy matter. Okay. It is a simple question of law and order, and it is testing the very capacity of the Ghanaian state. If your law says Mr. A is chief, and then Mr. B says he doesn't agree, do you have that capacity to enforce the position of your law? Do you have that political will to enforce the position of your law? Are you enforcing the position of your law? Are you doing everything within your competence to enforce the position of the law? That's for me the real issue that we have today in Bawku. Because time and again,
we have the police on the ground.
Yes.
We deployed military specifically, and the history is pretty clear on that. There's military too on the ground. Perhaps the very best of our forces are the ones that we are put on the ground. Exactly what else is required to send the signal that these people are there to make sure the right is done?
Okay, so you deploy police to the grounds.
Yeah.
You deploy military to the grounds. Every day on social media, a group of people continue to provoke a large number of people by putting up all sorts of things on social media, challenging the legitimacy of the lawful chief of the area. There is a radio station right in the center of town, and every day they are broadcasting very provocative messages that incite people to resist the lawful position and annoy the majority that the lawful position favors. And absolutely nothing is being done to deal with that. There was an instance when there was a decision to perform a funeral, and the state, nobody pushed them. They themselves realized that that ought not to happen. They went to the court and got a court injunction to restrain those who wanted to perform the funeral. Actually served it on them. The people proceeded and performed the funeral. The performance of that funeral then provoked a conflict.
Okay.
And those who actually went ahead and performed the funeral, in spite of an injunction obtained by the state and served on them, were arrested by the law enforcement agencies. And then the people are sitting there and they see that nothing has happened.
As if prosecution has not happened.
Nothing has happened. So, you know, that is why I'm saying this is testing the commitment of the state, the capacity of the statement, the level of the political will of the state to enforce what the Supreme Court says is the lawful position. If we are true to that commitment, there won't be all these killings and etc. Because I believe that the police force that we have, the military capabilities that we have, given the size of Bawku. Bawku is so small that I can't imagine the whole Ghana Armed Forces and Ghana, you know, police service going on peacekeeping missions in Sudan, in Darfur, and where, and Lebanon, and all over the world, and being acclaimed one of the best in terms of peacekeeping missions, which are similar issues. And here you come down in a small town like Bawku that you can ride a bicycle around, you know, in one day, and then you can't, you know, ensure compliance by ordinary young people. I mean, these are all, some of them, you know, our younger brothers, they are very small boys who are going around doing all these things. And then the police and then the military really cannot stop them. So you need to stop it at different levels. You need to stop it on social media. You need to stop it on traditional media. You need to trace and try and then, you know, arrest offending persons on both sides. Kusasi, Mampushi, any offending person, you need to trace and then arrest them, and you need to prosecute them. You need to use the prosecution as an example to prevent other people from doing that. You know, when you do all these things and then you complement it with the might of your military, people will realize that there is a state, and they can count on that state to enforce a law, and they will not have to enforce the law themselves or try to enforce the law themselves. So for me, it's a simple failure of the state, and you know, there's no other way of saying it than the fact that it's just a failure, a state failure.
The element of political will, I mean, the defense minister says categorically that government is committed to rooting this out. The likes of Professor should also believe that it is the politicization of this that is creating the biggest problem on the ground. It is the fact that political parties appear to have aligned not only on agencies, but are refusing to apply the law regardless of which political grouping people belong to. That's where we are today. Is it anywhere near the truth?
To a very large extent, I mean, he has diagnosed the problem quite accurately. You know, the defense minister says there's political will. But he's not the only person. He might just send soldiers. But then I told you that there's a problem with, let's say, people on social media. So there is national security, there is the police service. The police service.
But security institutions are able to track people on social media. They're able to quell people, even arrest and prosecute people who write things they don't like.
Exactly. So my point is, what have they done to stop the incitement? See, for somebody to get violent, somebody is inciting you to get violent. Okay? The messages that people stream to you have the potential to shape your behavior and your actions. So somebody sitting somewhere and putting out messages, continuously putting out messages, can shape attitudes and actual behaviors to a point where those behaviors can actually be life-threatening and risky, which is what I am seeing in the constituency. The same way, radio. In Rwanda, what happened? People use radio. And the genocide is just unimaginable.
But they are broadcasting standards in this country.
Yes, they are broadcasting exactly. So
we have arrested broadcasters who very words are inciting and all the other expressions that we have used.
Exactly. So if you have a conflict zone and there is a broadcast medium there and the media are being used in ways that doesn't complement the efforts of law enforcement to calm down the situation, and yet you lack the political will to say, look, I'm shutting you down because from morning till evening you are providing a platform for people to insult the Zugran, who is the paramount chief of the area, and your reach covers that entire kingdom, and his supporters are sitting and listening. And for me, member of parliament, you can insult me. I'm their nephew. They can insult me the way they want. I don't have a problem. I mean, I will still go to them in spite of the insult. And then my people know that, oh, he's their nephew. Let them do whatever they want to do with him. But when you insult the paramount chief, people sitting in their homes and listening get angry, and they will react. And then the law enforcement doesn't realize that, oh, the law enforcement agents don't realize that, oh, if we don't stop these insults from being broadcast and inciting other people, it will just make our work impossible. I mean, so it's not just...
So in the middle of a volatile zone...
It's not just sending, soldiers to the place.
Okay.
But if you are not dealing with the underlying cause of the problem because of political will... I mean, I'm a former information minister, and I'm the member of parliament of the place. It is sacrilege for a member of parliament and a former information minister to say, shut down a radio station. But if it is in the supreme interest of everybody, that this radio station should be shut down so that it stops being a platform being used to incite people to violence. I mean, what is that? They are not doing these things. Court orders not being enforced. People are killing everybody every day. And they are not doing it. A few days ago, I was with a military command, and they were like, oh, we are trying very hard to monitor these boys and their movements and etc. I said, look, simple drone technology can solve your problem.
Okay.
It's a simple drone technology. If you have drones flying all over the place, no young person will take a gun and go and fire because he knows there's a drone up there monitoring his movement and actually tracking his movement. And so when you are chasing him, you know where he is going to, you know where he dropped his weapon, and you will go and retrieve the weapon. I said there's technology that will help you to be able to do this job so easily. I mean, I don't like the situation where at night I keep being called, they are firing here, call soldiers to come and cover us, they are firing there. Last night, for instance, they were firing guns for close to 10 hours from, in the evening till what? This morning.
Just last night?
Yes, and several people died. People that I personally know, and some of them my friends. Just last night. The day before, my cousin was killed, and some other person from a village that I'm very familiar with was killed. The week before, 8 people were killed in a village that I'm very familiar with. That was where I went to, and I saw what the soldiers did. The week before, 2 men were shot and killed in front. Every single morning I wake up, somebody has been killed, some houses have been burned, People couldn't sleep. My constituency has become a ghost town. You go into the town and there's virtually nobody because everybody has evacuated the place. The hospital is not functioning. The banks are not functioning. The schools are not really functioning well. One whole generation that might just lose in terms of education and proper training. I mean, and you have the state of Ghana that everybody in the sub-region, everybody in the world, you know, paints a picture of a very strong, peaceful state. But I don't have peace. Clearly, for me, this is a very simple problem of lack of political will. It's just that. I mean, I'm not being political about this. Listen, I'm not being political about this. But let's ask ourselves some basic questions. Okay? Why is it that these conflicts tend to happen most when NPP is in office? Have you asked yourself that?
I've not done a catalogue of.
Do a catalogue. Look, this conflict was resolved. There was total peace in Bawku until December 2020. Are you getting the point? Mm-hmm. Take note of the date. December 2020.
As in the election period.
To be specific, 8th of December.
After the election.
8th of December 2020. Okay? And it raged on. And we worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. I mean, Kufuor was president. We managed that.
No, I mean, you mean 2000 or 2020 because...
sorry, 2000.
Yes,
sorry,
so
2000.
That's what
2000. Yeah. 2000. The 8th of December 2000.
Yeah.
We worked and worked and worked. And by 2008, there was some, level of normalcy. And 2009, President Mills took over, if you recall, up to 2012. 2012 up to 2016. 2018, the MPP took over. There was simmering, and we kept warning, watch this, watch that, watch this. They didn't pay attention. It exploded. And this is what we have. And so those who point to lack of political will, have some credence, because there is a clear indication that the firmness with which we need to deal with all sides is not present in the behavior of this government. And so those who keep saying, look, there's lack of political will, there's lack of political will, that's what the evidence seems to point to.
By saying that it's mostly erupt during the time of the NPP, are you not politicizing it?
But that's the point. So you need political will to deal with it.
Okay.
You understand me?
I get you. Yeah.
That's why people keep saying, look, there is lack of political will. You need a certain political will to deal with it. And the evidence shows that the NPP government doesn't have the political will to deal with the problem. That is what the evidence is pointing to. So when the defense minister sits or stands in parliament and says, oh, there's political will, after all, we have recognized that Bawku Naba is Bawku Naba. Me, I don't go into the matters. For me, I'm a lawyer. What does the law say? What does the Supreme Court say? Are you getting the situation? Yeah. So it's not even for you, the defense minister, to say it, because you can't say otherwise anyway.
That's fact.
You can't say otherwise, because that's a fact. President Akufo-Addo saying, he went to Bawku Naba's palace and declared that, Bawku Naba is Bawku Naba. It's not his declaration that is making the man chief. It's because the Supreme Court says the man is the chief. And so that is it. Now, what you need to demonstrate, is to ensure that everybody respect that Supreme Court pronouncement. That's what you need as a sitting president to do.
Is it really possible?
Yeah.
Is it really possible that the leaders of a country can compel allegiance to a chief?
They are not being asked to owe allegiance to the chief. No, listen. They are not being asked to what do they call it? To owe allegiance to the chief. They are being asked not to express their lack of allegiance violently.
I get your point. Yeah.
Are you getting the point?
Yes.
We're not saying that when we wake up in the morning, come to Bawku Naba house and say, oh, chief, we worship you. You can decide that for the rest of your life, you will not cross his path. You will not go to him for anything. Fine. We are saying that don't take a gun and say you will kill somebody because you don't accept that that person is the chief. That is just what people are asking for.
Do you support the Kusasis?
I am a Kusasi.
Do you?
My mother, listen, my mother is a Mampushi.
Yeah.
For the records.
I get you.
For the records, my grandfather, my grandfather was the leader of the Mampushis. So I straddle the two sides. And trust me, I have
more with the Kusasis.
I have a principle. That the person that you cannot run away and leave, you should tell the person the truth so that it doesn't get to running.
Okay.
Because if it gets to running, you can't run and leave the person. So it will consume you and that person.
Yeah.
You understand?
I get you.
I have told my uncles that as a lawyer, studying the law, understanding it, given my small background in constitutional law, it is not possible for a democratic government, a constitutional government operating under the 1992 Constitution to change chieftaincy. It's happened in the past, but never under a democratic government. It was usually military regimes that did the changes from Kusasi to Mampushi, from Mampushi to Kusasi.
Yeah.
So long as this constitution subsists and we are governed by it, the chieftaincy will not change. So if you decide that you're going to resist and resist violently, you're just going to bring onto all of us, unseasoned violence, and we'll just suffer for nothing, because that objective you will not achieve. I tell my uncles truthfully that this is what I know as a lawyer. They thought I was lying. So when Kufuor wins, he will change it. Kufuor won, it didn't happen. I was sitting watching them. Then they said, Afro Akufo-Addo is a very radical guy. He was our lawyer in the Supreme Court. He believes in our cause. When he wins, he will change it. I said, okay, we are here. May God enable Akufo-Addo to become president. Akufo-Addo became president. The first thing he did was to say, I cannot change it. So I said, didn't I tell you that this thing cannot be changed by anybody? So you just have to learn to live with it. Now, when I say that we are supporting Kusasis, how about Akufo-Addo, who says that the Bawku Naba is Bawku Naba and he cannot change it? Is he also supporting
But
Kusasis?
in all fairness, the accusation goes beyond that. They actually also think you speak for the Kusasis.
No.
And that in every relevant conversation, you seek to portray the Kusasis as the victims in this conversation, and the other side are the aggressors.
No. Listen carefully. In fact, I don't blame any side. I condemn some actions of the Kusasis. I have told them. In fact, the last time, there are video clips where right in front of Bawku Naba's palace, there are video clips where I said, look, I don't understand why you are also fighting, because everybody agrees that you are chief. So if you are chief, why are you fighting? Of course, they will point to the provocation. Can't you see that we are being provoked? Can't you see on social media? Can't you see the FM stations? Can't you see that they want to perform a funeral? Can't you see that the government itself said they shouldn't perform it? Can't you see the government got a court order restraining them? Can't you see they defied the government? And can't you see government has done nothing, when they were defied? So I'm being provoked. Are you getting the point?
No, I get your point.
I'm being
100%.
provoked. So it's not that I haven't, and even then, if you go to the chief and you talk to a lot of the Kusasi people that I speak with every day, I still persist in saying, yeah, I know you're being provoked, but you have a higher responsibility to tolerate, because somebody has lost something valuable. Definitely, he will be aggrieved. He will do all sorts of things. So you exercise more restraint than that person. That person will provoke you, but you exercise more restraint. Just exercise more restraint. After a while, the person will get used to the fact that they've lost it, and they've lost it forever. And then we will have peace. I speak, but when anytime I speak and it doesn't favor one side, he's on this side. And the same, the Kusasis also meet and accuse me of being supportive of my mother's side. I'm telling you, hey, go and ask, they'll tell you. A lot of people, this guy, we can't trust him. Today he says this, tomorrow he says that. But you see, today if the truth is on your side, I will say it. And then you are happy. Tomorrow, if it's on this person's side, I say it. You'll be unhappy for that moment. But that's the truth of the matter. I mean, look, let me tell you.
The trigger.
The day before yesterday, some people, gunmen, went to, what do they call it? Right in front of the police station. Opened fire on people who were just sitting there and having a conversation. 2 people died. One of them is the cousin.
Okay.
On the Kusasi side. This morning, I had to send money so that we could do his funeral, okay? Yesterday night, okay? Yesterday night, again, there was violent exchange, and a couple of people died. One of them, okay, is also, is it the distant uncle or cousin on the other side, my mother's side. If you recall, when Martin Hamidu was prosecuting me for buying an ambulance, okay, the ambulance was actually supplied by a Mampushi, okay, and his younger brother was killed last night. I was the first, I believe, one of the first to call him or send him a message around 4 a.m. this morning, saying, this is what I've heard. And he said, yes. And then I sent my condolences to him. That's the Mampushi side. So me, every morning I wake up, if somebody dies on this side, he's a relative. If somebody dies on this other side again, he's also a relative. Look at me. Do I look like somebody who likes to have people die every day? For what?
I get your point.
For what? What value does it add?
Who supplies arms to the area? I mean, of course, these people are not fighting with sticks, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's almost like gun battle.
Yeah.
Who supplies it? Who allows there to be this level of armory in a small town, as you describe it?
That is one of the responsibilities of the law enforcement agencies.
But we should figure this out.
The instrument of violence,
yeah,
is the weapons that they use. They go on radio and television and say, you know, the young men in Bawku have more sophisticated weapons than even what we, the military.
I've heard it before, but how is that possible?
Yes, but you see, that's the point. How is that possible? And how can the almighty Ghana Armed Forces, the almighty Ghana Police Service tell me that a small town like Bawku, they cannot succeed in disarming the people?
Is the question
that is another question that raises the issue of political will. How is it possible that you cannot? It was only yesterday that the defense minister was saying, oh, I realize that a number of men are inadequate, so I want to increase the number to 500 men. Look, Ghana Armed Forces should be capable of dominating a small town like Bawku and making it impossible for Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service should be capable of dominating a small town like Bawku, making it impossible. You see, look, even me, not being a security personnel, one, it shouldn't be impossible if you are reliable. If you are reliable, okay, people will give you information. People will share information. Because, you see, Bawku says that we know each other so well. We know every inch. The Kusasis know every inch of Mampushi territory. The Mampushis know every inch of Kusasi territory. If the police were reliable, both sides will partner with them and expose each other. Then you would take advantage of the information that they are providing to immobilize both sides and then bring them to the same level so that they cannot inflict violence on one another. But people don't seem to trust our law enforcement agencies to risk sharing information with them.
But
so that's one
because politicians have also colored these interventions, if you want to call it that way? When the MPP is in power, it is presumed that the MPP is mostly aligned to the Mampushis in this case. So when there's intervention on the ground, the people feel that they have come to support one side. When the opposite is happening with the NDC, that's the same thinking that this is pro-Kusasi security on the ground. So they have come to support one side. Is it not the core of the difficulty with trust?
Trust me, if NDC is in power, no Kusasi will dare do the kind of things that I see happening today and get away with it. Trust me. Trust me. And they themselves complain every day. They say, when NDC is in power, we also want to take action. And you say you will not allow us. I say, yes, we won't allow you today, we won't allow you tomorrow. And no sensible government will allow you to target a minority tribe in a given geographical area and say you want to annihilate them. Say no sensible human being. International law doesn't allow it. And the entire regime will be hauled before the international criminal tribunals, prosecuted and locked up for the rest of their lives. So, trust me, it won't happen. You understand me? Now,
what special things did the NDC do? I mean, what trump card does the NDC use? Because you create the impression that, well, the NDC will not allow what's happening to happen. But what trump card does it use?
Well, I mean, the point really is that
it doesn't deploy multiple.
Let me tell you what Rawlings did when they engaged in violent conflict. He arrested all the leaders together, Kusasi leaders, Mamprisi leaders, went and locked them up and forgot about them. They were in cells together for months. They started eating together, drinking together, praying together. Their wives were bringing food and they were sharing the food. Then they themselves decided that let's go together and go and beg the man so that he will release us. And when they went to beg him, he said, okay, the condition is that when you get back home, be peaceful. And they agreed. And they went back home. Nobody opened his mouth again. But for the entire period that he was in charge. You see,
but it's obvious military might alone does not fix the problem.
He didn't arrest Mamprisi alone. He didn't arrest Kusasi alone. He arrested all of them. And then he went and kept them together. And then he said, okay, but you're outside and then you're causing trouble. Okay, I keep you here. Cause trouble again and let's see. So political will...
But if that was a lasting solution,
political will...
If that was a lasting solution, I'm sure we'd have had it repeating itself as we speak today.
If the principle that if you sit there and watch young people mismanage a community, I will hold you accountable. If that principle was followed by others, the children are owned by other people.
Okay.
People gave birth to them, and people control them. So you have law enforcement on the ground that will confront them, but you have intel on who is responsible for where and who can command these people to stop doing what they are doing. And you have to hold those people also equally, accountable. And then you have to use your law enforcement capabilities to saturate and dominate the place in such a way that movement becomes a problem. Look, as we speak, every day I get calls and people complain about even the style of deployment of the law enforcement agencies, how they have even been physically deployed on the ground.
Military?
Yeah, military.
Police.
The military in particular. How they have even been deployed on the ground, makes it easy for certain people to get on the offensive. So how you deploy itself, people are watching and saying, look, the way you've deployed, it doesn't really make it impossible for others to operate. For instance,
but we have highly intelligent men in the military in this country. We have highly intelligent men, very well trained. They are some of the best schools have trained some of the best men in our country. How is that possible that mere deployment to the place that's had conflict for almost 100 years, you get it wrong this time?
Exactly. So that's the question people are asking. For instance, how is it possible that people will come right in front of a police station? A police station. A police station. The reason why those gentlemen were sitting there every day and having their conversations is because they feel that in front of a police station is a safe place to be. Okay? So how is it that people are able to get up to in front of a police station and open fire and kill and get away? So, you see, that demonstrates a defect in your deployment.
Okay.
So you have deployed so badly that it is possible for people to go right in front of the police station and shoot and kill. So it's a lapse in your deployment strategy. And it's the same around the constituency. On several occasions, I have had discussions with them. I've said, look, your deployment is bad. I have text messages I sent to them. So look, if you really want to be able to deal with this problem, this and that location, because as a member of parliament, I go around the whole place, so I can tell you, and then I consult. And so people, tell me on both sides, because both sides want to be safe. Trust me, the young people there, both sides want to be safe. Of course, there are a few boys there who are angry and whose friends have been killed, and then they are bitter, and then they want to retaliate. And so it's no longer even about the chieftains. It's about personality, egos, and etc. now, and pure criminality. And yet there is a significant population that just wants to be safe. And so they will tell you, okay, if you deployed here, and there and this other place, you know, it will be better, and you'll be able to prevent either side from, you know, attacking the other. But you talk, and then there's no movement along those lines. So even the way that the security agencies carry out their responsibility is a problem. Yesterday, you saw on the floor of the House, I made it clear that, look, I have been one of those defending the military and the law enforcement, because every day I receive reports of infractions.
Okay.
And it's not every infraction that I run to the floor of Parliament and start making noise about, because, you know, these are soldiers. That's how they've been trained. Okay.
You really are talking about the recent trigger,
yes.
the recent, what they call it, killing
yes.
of some 8 or so,
yes.
that the accusation was leveled at the military.
Yes.
And you heard their response, right? You heard the military's official response, the very first one. And they had first said the problem is that people wearing, what they call it, military uniform like, and that they are investigating those ones. Shouldn't that have been enough for you, as a man who has understood the history that's fed into this? Did you need to ask for an investigation that's currently still ongoing to be also done by other institutions, including even calling for Parliament to come in?
Actually, I didn't hear them deny that the killings were done by soldiers. I didn't. In fact, they said that the soldiers went head of some, you know, gunshots in that neighborhood, and they went there and they liquidated, they neutralized. The word they used was
they neutralized, yeah.
They neutralized 6 people. And I said, if you use the word neutralize, you are presupposing that the person was holding a weapon. He was either a threat to you or a threat to a third party, and then you neutralize that threat by taking him out. Okay, when you took him out,
in tandem with orders they have been given, standing orders they've been given, so which you're very much aware of, right?
Where are the weapons that you retrieved? Because that's the primary evidence that, you know. And I went to the places where these people were killed, and I spoke to eyewitnesses. So they were not holding anything. Some of them were just farmers in their gardens, and then they just came and killed them.
But security was investigating this.
Yeah. The police, in my presence, the police, I was told by some of the witnesses that the police had invited them to come and give statements. Okay? But nothing prevents me from asking the Human Rights Commission to go into the matter, because this is a violation of human rights.
But are you not sowing further doubts in the minds of the people? And people that feel that when the military is deployed, sometimes they only support a side.
I didn't say they support a side.
I'm not saying you are saying so. I'm saying that
anybody who says that, I have never said that the military supports any side.
No, I'm not saying that you said so. I'm saying that the history is that when a team is deployed, they either are conceived as support one side or the other. That history, are you not confirming that history? Do you know that the soldiers live directly in front of my house? The military camp is directly in front of. In fact, the land on which they have built the camp is my village chief who gave it to them. So it's your further request for probe. The question I'm asking is, it's your further request for probe.
But you see,
not an indication of very little trust in the process the military put together themselves.
No, listen carefully. The military, let's say you have an army of 300 people deployed. They were deployed all over the town.
Yeah.
If one unit made up of, let's say, 15, 20 people decide to go on their own and do what I know is unacceptable, even within military regulations,
which the military is investigating,
and I raise it,
and they have a history of dealing with it,
I raise it. How is that an indication that I don't trust the Ghana Armed Forces?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying does not sow further doubt to the minds of the people that you do not think they can deal with the matter on their own.
No. The military, when have they ever investigated any atrocities committed by soldiers and come to admit to you that they actually committed those atrocities, and then they are paying compensation to the victims of the atrocities?
So now we've got into the point.
Give me one instance.
This is the basis for you asking Stra to come in.
Give me one
because
instance.
You have doubt about their ability to do it independently.
No. I can say that knowing the military, and not just the military, the law enforcement agencies, sometimes internally they will investigate,
okay,
they will establish the truth, but their public posture will be one of denial. That's how they behave.
okay.
Internally, they may investigate, they may establish the truth, they may actually take action against the people that they believe, did the wrong thing. But they hardly ever will come public and tell you that, it's true, we are wrong, and etc. Because they need to maintain that posture to be able to exercise control. Why do we call them? Why don't we, allow our police service to maintain law and order in our communities? It's because we feel that there's a certain reverence for the military. There's a certain fear of the military, and that fear is founded on their ability to just sidestep the law and do what they have to do.
It's not probably because
compliance.
They've been trusted for a long time. If you check the CDD's reports, the Afrobarometer suggests that one of the most trusted institutions in this country is the military.
Yes.
So they have a track record of being trusted. Isn't that what actually gives them the reverence in society that you refer to them situations that look like basic security institutions cannot handle?
But see, the point is that you don't abuse that trust. Listen, the young men were running because they saw people in uniforms. That's why they were running. That is the evidence of the reverence. If I see you running towards me and I run away, it's not because you are physically stronger than me. It's because by virtue of the uniform that you are wearing, I feel I should show reverence, I should run. Assuming that it wasn't that they were wearing uniform and they were the same military, were wearing T-shirts and then running shoes, and they were running towards those people, do you think they would have run? They will not run. Are you getting the situation?
No, I get you.
So the respect is for the uniform. And so because the respect is for the uniform, you don't abuse it. Because when you abuse it and civilians stop respecting the uniform, we are finished. We are finished. And also, we shouldn't say that because we respect the uniform, they can commit all sorts of atrocities and nobody should hold them accountable. Because when we lose control of our military also, that is a very, very dangerous development.
Isn't it also true that...
yes, we have reverence, we respect them, but they must also be made to understand that they have to operate within a certain legal framework.
Okay, now STRAD is supposed to investigate this. The police also doing their own investigation. So perhaps we'll get to know when their reports come out. You talk about the information flow and the difficulties with a specific media setup within the unit. Have you reported to the National Media Commission?
No, for me, I treated it as a law enforcement matter. And so when...
a radio station that's infuriating and fueling.
When I met with look, we've had discussions with people in government, people who are, and when they asked me, I said, these are the sources of the problem. 1, provocation. 2, illicit weapons. 3, failure of law enforcement agencies to enforce the law. And then the lapses in the operational style of both the military and the police on the ground. So if you ask me, I'll show you. You want my views on how to solve the problem. I give you my views on how to solve the problem. And it's up to you to go ahead and then implement it. If they refuse to implement it, what can I do?
No, I actually was asking a question that as a member of parliament, you could equally ask NMC that you believe that the conduct of this particular radio station is not fostering peace and unity, which is one of the things that media institutions are supposed to do. Then NMC takes it upon itself, make a pronouncement on that. That alone is supposed to be punitive in nature. That's why I asked whether you've taken up that particular role.
I haven't, but I've informed the Interior Minister, I've informed the Defense Minister, I've informed the National Security Minister. I've said, you have the capacity, put your men on the ground, let them monitor the broadcast of this station, because every day I get reports. I don't listen to the station, to be frank with you. It's the community that calls me and then they complain. And I've said, look, use your law enforcement team on the ground and monitor the station over a period of time. You will have the evidence that what they broadcast there is provocative. And like I'm saying, as a former information minister and a member of parliament for the area, I should be the last person to be calling for a radio station to be shut down.
I guess you understand
that. But then, if that is in the supreme interest of the community, I will do it. with all the risk, the political risk that it comes with, I will still go ahead and
Should it be shut down?
I believe that that station should be told to stop allowing itself to be used as a platform to provoke the wider Kusasi community to now want to descend on both, innocent and perhaps, deliberate citizens that are in the township. I am not for Kusasis wanting to inflict harm on Mampushis. I condemn it. It's not right. I don't support the idea that, you should surround a whole community and not allow them exit, not allow them to engage in economic activities and etc. I'm not for that.
Is it only radio
and I think that
there?
the law enforcement agencies should protect those people. At the same time, also, I don't think that those in town should engage in a habit of killing anybody who strays into the township, into their neighborhood. That should also be equally condemned. I do not support the idea that when people are traveling on the highway across Kusasi areas, that people should attack them. I'm not for that. I condemn it. At the same time, I do not also think that it should be allowed for people to go into northeastern region and then ambush vehicles that are coming from Bawku that they perceive have Kusasi passengers on them and then attack it. I condemn all those things. I condemn all sides. And I ask law enforcement agencies, do your work. So
now, I was asking about this station. I mean, is it the only station there?
Look, there are other FM stations
that are not doing the same thing,
that are not behaving the same way. But I even said, look, one of them even is for my elder brother. When I say, look, if you even feel you can't shut down one station, shut all the stations down so that we can have peace. Before radio stations came, we're living in peace in Bawku. So shut all of them or just restrict them to taking in broadcasts from, what do they call it? Accra, news feed from like Joy and City and all those, GBC and all those things. And secondly, let them, you can even allow them to operate, but prevent them from allowing phone-ins.
Okay, that's interesting.
You see, because the host might not necessarily say things that are inciting because he is known and can easily be identified by law enforcement agencies. So he will not. So just direct them that you will not allow them to do phone-ins. Because somebody sitting somewhere who knows that he cannot be easily located can just call into the station and then he will say unprintable things about other people.
I get you.
But you would have afforded him that platform. And of course, law enforcement may not have the resources to go around searching for all those number of people. Every evening, if 20, 30, 40 people phone in, do you think they have the resources to go around every day looking for 20, 30 people? So it's as simple as I say, okay, yeah, you can operate a radio station, take news from Accra, play music, run programs only with people who are in the studio, and then you now monitor. If anybody goes into the studio and is airing unprintable things, then you go after that person because that person can easily be identified. There are ways of managing the situation.
Peace Council.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a body that's been successful in resolving so many conflicts in this country. Have they tried? What has been their role in helping fix this internecine problem?
Listen, this is not Peace Council's job.
No, but there's something that goes beyond law enforcement, right?
Listen carefully. This is not Peace Council's job.
But have they tried?
It is because it is not their job that they have tried for years and they have not been successful.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to.
This is a simple law enforcement issue. And I'm saying that the state of Ghana is being tested and they are failing. The policing is failing. The army is failing. The intelligence unit is failing. And the politicians are failing. It's as simple as that. Law enforcement failure.
Well, deploy more military workouts.
It depends on what they go to do. They go to sleep in their camp. If they go to make friends with people and then not, use the proper tactics to identify where people might be hiding their weapons and retrieving those weapons. If they are not mounting enough road checks to block the movement of ammunition into the conflict zone, whilst doing everything possible to retrieve what is there. If they're not deploying properly in such a way that it is so difficult for you to come out and go and then fight, there's a way you can deploy, and then it will be difficult for anybody to come out if they are not using the right technologies like drone technology to monitor movement. You know, all these things are there. Very simple. Look, the town is small. Go to Bawku, it's a small town. And the fight is only in that small town.
I get you. But when you say it's a small town, there's those who are actually looking at a terrorism angle to this and even saying it's possible that a side might be recruiting terrorists to help them in this fight, or the situation could be exploited by terrorists.
Listen carefully.
Is that a real possibility?
I know both sides.
Yeah.
I know my uncles. I know my fathers. They don't need to recruit anybody to assist them. Each and every side is capable of defending itself without recruiting terrorists to do anything.
So
in fact, rather, they are the terrorists. They are terrorizing each other.
Okay.
If you ask me, they are the ones terrorizing each other. And our responsibility as a state is to prevent them from terrorizing each other. So if people in town say nobody from the outskirts will pass through this town, if you pass through this town, you are finished. Is that not terror? If people in the outskirts say, okay, you in the town won't also allow you to come out. If you try and come out, you are also in danger. Is that not terror? So they're always terrorizing each other. After this talk about terrorism, you have a problem. You are not focusing your resources on it. You are more concerned about, you are not concerned about the lives of people in Bawku that are dying. You are concerned about terrorists crossing over.
Or being used by any side.
By any side. I mean, come on. Are you saying that the Ghana Armed Forces cannot manage that small geographical space? That's my real fundamental problem. That I do not accept that the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service and the intelligence agencies, given the resources available and given the technology that is available, because you see the fight has not spread.
Isn't it also the case?
And we have to prevent.
Isn't it also the case
spreading.
that when they become heavy-handed, when they deploy the might of the state in ways that people might not like, people like you will file cases as charged?
No, not at all. When I say you should deploy, I don't mean that you should chase people, they surrender, then you kill them. You should arrest them. If you had arrested those people and you had sent them to the police station and demanded that they should be locked up, and they are locked up, then you send them to Bolga and then get them remanded, and they are there whilst you are investigating. See, if you had technology, you say the people, you chase them. I get to the community, people say, no, we're actually at home, and then we heard gunshots, and we came out and saw soldiers, armor cars, whatnot, uniformed men coming towards us. Of course, naturally, we would flee. So we fled, and then they kept chasing us. We got to a valley, and then, you know, we also met other people, farmers there. They also saw the soldiers coming in. We're all in the valley. They came. Now, if you had drone technology, okay? You see, as your troops are moving on the ground, you have your drones up there. They are watching. Today, it would have been easy for all of us. We just look at the cameras, and then we'll see at what point Mr. A started running.
Okay.
Did he start running from his house, or he was firing a weapon somewhere, and then when the military were coming, he started running? Where did he throw the weapon? At the point that you caught him, he was not holding any. But
the military, do
weapon.
They wear body cams? Do they wear body cams? The military themselves, do they wear body cams?
That's the other question. Do they have that technology? Do they have that capability? I don't know.
Because that's how you get them accountable for their actions on the ground.
Exactly. So, I mean, sometimes it is the wider community of people who have taken sides.
I see. The people who might not be
anytime there's a conflict, once there's, they are not resident there. They are once there's a conflict, it's a conflict of involving two sides.
Okay.
So Those who are on the ground doing the fighting are there, and those who are far away and financing those doing the fighting are there.
Do we know those who are financing?
That's what a good intelligence system will assist
But
you.
you told me you're on the ground. So you know both sides very well. You would know the rich people, the powerful people who are likely to be the third parties in this conflict, who are not necessarily on the ground fighting, but financing it.
That's why I'm saying that if you have a good intelligence system that people trust, they will give you information.
Okay.
But like I said, there's a failure of intelligence because people don't trust our intelligence system. I mean, trust me, the military and the police have intercepted a lot of weapons.
Okay.
That's because, see, when you go to the lorry station here to load items to Bawku, sometimes people are sitting there and watching what you are loading. And then they can tip off the other side.
Okay.
That, you know, I've observed Mr. A, he's brought this thing. Mr. A supports this side. And what he came and put on the truck, I suspect there's some ammunition in it. So block the truck and search it.
Is there ever an end in sight?
And the police and the military, sometimes they block, they search. They actually do find things. Sometimes they search, they don't find anything. I get the situation.
I get your point.
It will just be mere suspicion.
I am grateful for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
That's where we end today's edition of Upfront.